have taken my seeds out. I have them all here in this box. I live in Queens, New York City, and this is considered zone 7B, and our last frost date I think is around April 14th last time I checked. Now I'm not gonna go over every single seed pack that I have because that would be kind of boring. I have a lot of them, but I wanted to show here why I'm going through this, my favorite varieties and the things that are going to be my must grows for this garden this year for sure, and what did well in containers. Some things did amazing in my garden last year, and I want to share with you guys the variety, exactly what I got them from, so if that can be helpful to you. First one, number one, that I was highly impressed by, to be quite honest with you, the most prolific thing that I had growing in a container, that it was not even that big, I put it in a small. It was an eggplant called Patio Baby eggplant. Let me see if I find the seeds here from Joni's. The seed package will look like this. It's from Joni's, but it's called Patio Baby, and it is so prolific. It produced so much eggplant. It was amazing. There's little tiny round eggplants like this, dark skin, very tender, not as bitter. And it kept kind of producing, even though it looked like it was running out of nutrients, but it kept sending a lot of flowers until it got to get cold. So that was my number one, I think, recommendation for patio if you like eggplant. The number one prolific plant last year was my Patio Baby eggplant. And then the second was the Puma pepper. This is the variety that I harvested the most peppers from. It's from Baker Creek Seeds, and it's in the habanero family, so does taste a little fruity, which is delicious, and is hot, spicy, but best tasting pepper in my garden too, that I thought. And the plant looked gorgeous. Has this beautiful dark foliage, and then the fruit says start purple, and then when you start ripening they get to this beautiful orange. It makes amazing hot sauce. That's a keeper for sure. Silver slicer cucumber, but this guy cucumber that we ate the most last year. It's very good, very mild. I think because of the white skin it's not as bitter. Definitely going to be growing this every time from now on too. This one is in the green stock, the best performing one in the green stock. It's from Baker Creek too. This one is Red Swan bush beans. It was not the best tasting beans that I thought it would be. You know, it didn't taste bad. It was just very mild flavored, but the color was stunning, beautiful pink. It is the bean that produced the most in my garden, so this is the beans we ate the most last season. I am growing this again because it's a beautiful plant. It was very prolific. It was very early producing, and also the color kind of matched my red green stock, and I think that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna be definitely growing this variety in my red green stock again. This is an old actually tomato from my first ever garden upstate. I bought this in a little convenience store. It's the yellow pear tomatoes. A lot of people say that it's not that great. I don't really like the taste, but to be honest, this was the most high yield tomatoes that I had, and I do like the taste. They're sweet, they're good. It was good enough to me. They're a bit more mild and less acidic, but I thought but I really enjoyed them. So I am actually planting these this year again. I do want to eat them. I think they also look cool with the other tomato plants that I have. I had a problem with my tomato plants. I thought it was blight. I don't know now if it was blight, but I think it's because I put them out too early. I was so excited last year, and I was like watching all these YouTubers that gardens on 7B, but they're out in the south. So I was like confident that what they're saying, I would just, if I planted my tomatoes the same time they did, that would be great, and my tomatoes would perform as good as them. Well, they didn't, but we also had a lot of rain, so I do not know now if it was the rain, it got blight early, it was very humid, or if it was because I put them out too early and the plants kind of got weak. But to be safe this year, I am going to be planting a little later, because from being here at this location the whole year, I noticed that in May, that's really when it got a little bit warmer at the night. So I started my seeds early. I kind of followed the advice of everybody out there, but now I learned from my own sake and my region over here, I am going to be starting my tomatoes a month later. Last year I started on Valentine's Day, as many other people did in 7B. This year I'm starting on my birthday, March 14th, but let's see how that's gonna go. It's gonna be an experiment, and we're gonna see how they're gonna do it this growing season. The other ones here, tomatoes that I'm looking through, they didn't do very good. I don't know if it's because I planted too early, like I said, or because of the blight, but I am trying them again because they're very unique varieties. This is Bread Atomics Crate. When I used to work in restaurants, we used to get this, and it was delicious, and it was also grown in the Black Dirt region here in New York, so I know the potential of this tomatoes. Didn't do very well in my garden last year. And this guy here, I hear about a lot of good things. I did have some. Mine particularly didn't taste very good, but I'm gonna try again and give it better conditions to see if it's gonna make a difference. But that's supposed to be a very prolific variety too if you have limited space, if you don't have a lot of space to garden. It's called Berries Crazy Cherries Tomato. Okay, those are tomatoes, eggplants, peppers. I love to grow hot peppers. And then for herbs, all herbs are really good in container. Most herbs, my basil, I grew all kinds of basil. They were the best. They did great in my garden. The best tasting, I like this. This is my favorite basil for taste. I love this Thai sweet basil. It's delicious. I love the taste of it. So lots of seeds. So this is definitely going to be going to my garden again. I have many other varieties of basil, but all herbs that I grew in containers did well. I want to do one of my green stocks. I want to do all herbs because I cook a lot at home. We eat mostly home cooked meals, and I now have a green stock right out my door here, and I want it to be all herbs, so it's going to be super easy for me to grab them when I'm cooking. Even if it's cold outside and if it's dark, I can just go right out my door, grab the herbs that I'm going to use for the day, and then come back in. Kale did good on my green stock too. All lettuces did really good in the green stock in the spring. Now they're a little bit stunted because of the cold. But carrots, I grew carrots in the green stock. They did good too. Squash did good. I had a patty pan squash, one patty pan squash that did really good. But the other ones got vine borers, so it was not because of the space. But just make sure, I just have to make sure this year that I'm gonna keep the containers more fertilized, because when you're not gardening like in soil, like in a raised bed, the amount of nutrients of that pot's limited. Not only the plants take it, you also lose some when you water, if the water runs off. So it's important that you keep that in mind and fertilize your plants either with worm castings, putting more compost, or using organic fertilizer, liquid fertilizer if you like. Just I need to be more mindful of that myself this year, and know that I have to, especially with a heavy feed like a squash. It's like a heavy feeding plant that really needs a lot of nutrients. I'm going to make sure that I give it more to it to see if it produces more. Sweet chard did really great on my green stock too. Can't wait to plant some sweet chard again this year. All the kales did really good. And I'm not gonna plant peppers in the green stock because I'm overwintering peppers this year, but if you don't have a lot of space, they're good too. One thing to watch for with fruiting plants in the green stock that I've learned is like, I wouldn't put them all, let's say there's one tier with 5 pockets. I would put like 1 pepper in there, and the other pockets I'll put herbs, something that don't take so much nutrients from the soil. And then the next year put maybe a couple peppers and some herbs and lettuce, and the next year put then maybe, you know, another fruiting plant and some peppers and flowers or some root vegetables. I went too heavy on mine and planted like a lot of peppers at once, and I think they ended up competing with each other. And companion planting is a great thing. It makes it to pretty, very beautiful aesthetics. I live in a very busy street, a lot of foot traffic, and everyone just loved my great green stock. What I had, a huge cherry tomato plant that took over, growing along other herbs and flowers. And everyone's like, oh my gosh, that plant is just so beautiful. I love the way it looks. What a great way to plant, etc. So keep that in mind. Keeping diverse, it's really good. It's good for the health of the plants, doing the companion planting, and also good for pest management. So that was it for most of the things that absolutely did amazing in my last year garden. There are other things that did good too, but those are my planting again, all-time favorites. And I have a lot of new things to try this year. Well, I'm very excited to try this black strawberry tomato. I'm assuming this is going to do really well in containers, so I'm going to try to plant in a container because it's a cherry tomato, and cherry tomatoes usually do well. I am not planting indeterminate varieties on my green stock tomatoes and my green stock anymore because literally just took over and shaded the other plants. It was hard for me to manage. So this is going to go in an individual planter. If I do plant a tomato in the green stock in the bottom tier, because it gets tall, it will be a determinate variety, and I only have bromas as determinate right now, but I am not set on that plant yet. But mostly I have a lot of peppers overwintering, and those peppers are going to be in containers because they're already overwintering in containers. Eggplants, I'm going to plant most of my eggplants in containers. I'm going to put a lot of my tomatoes in containers. Bush beans I'm doing in containers too in my green stock. Pole beans I'm probably going to do it in my raised bed because I need trellising. Squash, even though squash did well in my green stock, I think I'm going to put one in the raised bed because it also helps shading the soil. I'm going to put sunflowers in my raised bed too because I love them. I wouldn't put sunflowers in your green stock because they're too tall, like sunflower, okra. I'm doing all these long stems, very big plants, trying to do them in the raised beds. I'm thinking to make one of my green stock dedicated to root vegetables, but I also want to plant potatoes as an experiment, so I'm thinking about that. These dragon tongue beans, I haven't had them. I had the cranberry beans, which I'm assuming it's similar, but I bought these because so many people recommend and say they're delicious. This peas, sugar magnolia tendril peas. They're beautiful plants. They have these long curly tendrils that just go everywhere, and they're very vigorous and very sturdy, so they grow really tall. I grew these in my front yard. They got so big that they actually bent over the trellis, so I'm gonna make sure that I give something taller for them to climb on, but I'm planting these again for aesthetics. It just looks so pretty. Has this beautiful purple peas. The peas taste great too. Not as sweet as a sugar ant or sugar snap pea. Still really good, but I'm planting again because I love the way it looks. I love how sturdy the plant is, and I love the beauty that adds to the garden. Buena mulata pepper. This is a pepper in the cayenne family that I'm going to be planting again. I have some overwintering, but I might start another ones from seed. It is in the cayenne family, medium heat. It does and starts purple like this and turns into like orange reddish, and it's really beautiful too. So I'm growing for its beauty, but also that's going to be my kind of drying pepper to make chili powder, to make chili flakes. Someone recommended me this Thai basil. Someone that cooks a lot of Thai food here in New York told me this is really good, and I decided to buy it to try. If I had to find stores to buy here, so I'm going to give it a try this year. I love peas, and I love the peas, growing peas last year, so I bought more varieties of peas for this year. I'm trying this new one, Lillian peas over here. I'm going to give it a try and see how they go. I also got some from Joni's sugar snaps because they're just so tasty. It is a really big package, so I'm probably going to be planting a lot of them. And purple lady bok choy. I tried to plant some in the fall and they didn't grow, but I'm going to give it a try again in this winter or in this spring. There's some tatsoi in here too that I'm going to grow more in the spring. I love tatsoi, very tasty. Someone told me it's like an upgrade on spinach and bok choy, but I love the flavor of it, so I'm going to try to grow this again. I have a lot of different carrot varieties, and I'm planning to grow lots of carrots again. Oh, look at that, it's too many. Oh my gosh. This is all the carrots variety. Dragon carrot, this is a black carrot. Cosmic purple, this is really good. Little red, it's really good too. Parisian, good for containers if you don't have a lot of depth and space. They're round carrots, so you can plant them in shallower pot. This is just a colorful blend, and 2 yellow carrots. They're very sweet. This one that I grew in my green stock last year did good, and they're really sweet. I really liked it. Got this as free seed, and I'm gonna try it too. And beets, I have some red beets that this little container here because someone gave this to me. Bull's blood beets, and then I'm gonna go give it a try again on those 2 that didn't do super good in my garden last year, but did really good in my garden the year before, the raised beds upstate. So let's see how that goes. Broccoli again. This is specialty Kajari melon. I'm gonna try to grow this in a container, see if it's gonna do well. 1 melon. Let's hope for the best. Heard many good things about it, and so I have tons of lettuce in here. I have lots of varieties of tomatoes, and I'm going to be trying to grow more calendula this year for its medicinal properties for the skin. I have some cool seeds here from Rose 7 Seeds. Seeds are bred to taste good too. He has an interesting story that he said that if you watch Chef's Table on Netflix, you see in his episode, Chef Dan Barber from Blue Hill. He was talking to a breeder, and he asked him if he could make a butternut squash that actually tastes good. And then he looked at him and said, no one has ever asked me to breed for flavor before. All the experience before was breeding for like disease resistance or, you know, be adapted to a certain temperature, climate, range. So they have this project now that they are breeding seeds for flavor and celebrating flavor as well, like lots of the heirloom seeds are. But there's this Midnight Roma tomato. It's supposed to make excellent sauce. Only came with 10 seeds. I can see there's only a few here, but I'm excited for this one this year. The habanada pepper, I actually went to Blue Hill last year in the summer, and I had some pickled habanadas. They were delicious. Had all the fruit in there, as a lot of these more exotic peppers have, but none of the heat. I thought it was really, really good. This was gifted to me by my neighbor, fellow chef as well. He gave this to me because he had bought 2 packages. Then I have a few squashes. That's the 898 squash. If you watched my last cooking video, I showed that I was cooking. I got it at the farmer's market. That's the same one. I'm going to try to grow this 898 squash to do little tiny butternut squash with a very red, flashing, very sweet flavor. I grew the snow peas. They were in pots this year. They did good, and they tasted really good cooked, and they kept the color. So this purple pea is bred to actually keep the color when it was cooked, and they would taste better if you let them grow a little bit bigger, Then when you usually harvest snow peas, when you see the pod swell a little bit, that's the time to harvest for optimal flavor. This is a cucumber that I did try growing, didn't do really well, but because I grew in a place that was shaded, so I'm gonna go try to grow it again this year. Those two I got a new this year, the two different squashes. The tetra squash, it's supposed to be a zero waste squash. It's a multi-purpose delicata squash that you can eat at every stage of life. So little as a flower, one has still the flower attached, the blossom attached to it, a little bigger, and all the way to mature for delicata. So this is pretty cool. That's probably one of the things I'm most excited about growing this year. They can eat it at any stage. And a very cool thing about the Roll 7 seeds too, it comes with little recipes even in the back here. They're so you see this, they'll tell you for immature squash just what it say. Sliced in, salt and pepper, lemon juice, olive oil. But how cool is that? That gives you a little recipe at the end of the best way to cook it too. Even the peas will say the best way to cook. So I really encourage you to go and buy from Roll 7 if you haven't heard of them yet. You can read it all about it on their website. They have a lot of the proceeds go for research for seed development at Cornell University and other universities. So it's very cool. Make sure to check them out. This nasturtium was gorgeous. It's called Orchid Cream. I waited for a long time. This was on my wish list at Vicky Creeks for a while until I actually got it, and it was so beautiful. I am definitely planting again, and I can't wait to show you guys. I mean, you can watch my garden tours, but I can't wait to see how that's going to do in my garden this year. I got this beautiful black cosmos that I also had to wait for a little bit it was in my wish list to wait until be available again. Never grown this before, and I'm very excited to see how they're going to turn out. I have this zinnia that I'm very excited, and few other things. I just realized how many seeds I actually have. I'm thinking to do a more detailed video, maybe categorized by variety or something, since I went all over the place here explaining all the things as I was going through my seeds. But if you're interested in that, please let me know. You'll have to organize this. Would be nice if I would at least put them by variety category together. I'll maybe try to do that. One more thing before I end this video. Look at this. This is my little sweet potato experiment. This is overgrown. I did this because I wanted to do a video, but I have few stages growing your own leaves of sweet potatoes at home. I have got this at the farmer's market. This one just took off, so it's a bit overgrown. I'm gonna see what to do about that, but I want to make a video and show you guys how to do this because it was actually pretty easy. And that'll be it for today. I'm gonna be spending some time here putting these seeds in order, thinking of the possibilities of everything that is to come in this very cold winter day. I'm gonna be ending this video here. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you can, and subscribe to the channel if you're curious to see what this growing season holds for us. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.